Which celebrity gives you "I made a bargain with my soul" vibes? 1. Tom Cruise definitely sold his soul, but he seems pretty comfortable with that. 2. Tom Cruise was literally the first name that came to mind. He's got that Scientology weirdo thing going on that seems like it should have derailed him professionally. Yet his movies continue to largely be bangers and he never ages. Dude's doing X Games stunts himself at 61 years old. He made a deal with Sinew for sure. 3. He's literally the first name that pops into my head when these kinds of threads pop up. Which celebrity is weird behind the scenes? Wouldn't surprise you if they were a serial killer. Do you think are secretly Satan or drinks the blood of children? Everything he says seems very calculated, like he sits at home and comes up with scripts in his head for every possible question anyone would ask him. I know his charm is fake, yet I have a suspicion I'd still fall for it if I were to ever meet him. 4. Ted Bundy style, but with the Hollywood glitz. 5. Every single person that works with him absolutely gushes about how great he is. Check out Bill Hader talking about working with him on Tropic Thunder. Scientology is weird as shit and is definitely responsible for Cruise's super sanitized public persona and probably his wife choices too. Mimi Rogers recruited to him Scientology. After all, but I'll be damned if the man doesn't seem to have the professionalism and work ethic and charisma to overcome religious ties that should make him infinitely distasteful to audiences. Edit, wrong Mimi. 6. In an interview with director Mary Harron, the inspiration for Christian Bale's American Psycho inspiration was revealed to be action film superstar Tom Cruise. Harron recalled that, one day, Bale had phoned her with the news that he had found inspiration for American Psycho. Having watched Tom Cruise doing an interview with late-night commentator David Letterman, Bale saw the exact qualities he wanted to portray in Bateman. Harron described Cruise as having this very intense friendliness with nothing behind the eyes, and that Bale was really taken aback by his energy. He thought it would naturally fit into the unnatural business world of American Psycho, which it certainly did. 7. Do you think that entire comment section is Scientologists? They are all about how wonderful Tom Cruise is, how funny the interview is, and I'm like, he cut off the dude's oxygen. WTF? 8. Some people don't see it's an act. A narcissist seems charismatic to them. I don't say it to disparage anyone, some people just lack the ability or experience to see through the mask. Tom has always been creepy. He gives the same exact vibe as, say, Kenneth Copeland. But being a talented actor, he hides it slightly better. 9. You are spot on, especially about the televangelist thing. I grew up with conservative evangelicals. You can always tell whose internal monologue is, I must act kind because the Lord commands it, and it is my duty to bring new members to the flock, rather than out of any genuine kindness people who are enthusiastically nice to the point of cringe like the stereotypical VBS youth pastor. That is how Tom Cruise comes off for me, but with Scientology instead of megachurch evangelical Christianity. 10. Well, I could be wrong, but you also have to figure in the fact that anyone who speaks ill of Scientology or those high up in Scientology is often targeted by Scientology. It's easier for people to say that Tom is a great guy and hide the fact that they think he's batshit crazy than it is to deal with the repercussions of going against Scientology and their higher UPS. I'm not saying that this is the case, I'm just saying it could be the case. 11. Leah Remini makes it very clear there are major consequences for speaking out against him. I imagine even if you're not a Scientologist you want to stay in good with the people who are in Hollywood. 12. At this point he's been in for so long, so deep he probably couldn't get out if he tried. The shit they must have on him from audits and just his continued involvement. 13. Someone on Reddit months ago said that Tom Cruise does all of his own stunts because he knows death is the only escape from Scientology. I think about that every time I see him mentioned anywhere. 14. He thinks he is essentially at God-tier Scientology status. I think he does his own stunts because he thinks he won't get hurt because he is a god. 15. I thought he has risen high enough that B basically is in charge of Scientology at this point. 16. Yes. He's a god to them. Leah and Mike said he is Scientology and loves his power too much to ever quit. 17. I sometimes think about that moment in Going Clear when a singer is performing and Tom Cruise jumps on stage and grabs the microphone from her so he can sing instead. And everyone goes along with it like that wasn't rude as hell. It gives the vibe of that kid on the Twilight Zone who could send people to the cornfield. It's good that you took over the spotlight. You're a real good singer, Tommy. 18. There's a reason Katie somehow escaped and took her daughter. How she accomplished that blows my mind. Total badass. 19. I know her dad is a divorce lawyer, so I'm sure he was instrumental in getting her out of that marriage unscathed. It blows my mind that TC seems to have completely cut off contact with Suri since then, though. Or maybe that was part of the deal? 20. Tom Cruise strikes me as a guy who sold his soul for success after he was already successful. Like, the devil definitely got the better part of the deal. The dude was already a megastar before he went insane, and then for no reason at all he just decides that he's going to make a deal with the devil to get the success he already has. It'd be like the guitar player showing up to the crossroads to make a deal with the devil to learn to play the guitar well. But he already knows how to play the guitar well. Why, dude? Why? 21. Kenneth Copeland. Those eyes. 22. He looks like he's possessed by a demon wearing a skin suit that's too small for him. Hurt whatever. 23. Didn't know who he was? Googled him. The pictures all yell, evil. 24. I have no idea how people look at him and think good person. He is truly something else in the worst way. Like when he closes the door to the bathroom, takes off the human suit to air out the evil kind of vibes. 25. I had to Google him to see what you meant, and yes, I don't think anything could have properly prepared me. 26. You should see his video defending his need for a private jet. 27. I think of this interview every time I hear his name. 28. Normal people don't look at him and think he's a good person. Shitty, evil people look at him and think, he's our guy. 29. If Satan is real, Kenneth Copeland is it. 30. I mean, if there's one thing Satan would probably do on earth, it's take the form of a greedy, hateful evangelist pastor. 31. You guys gotta stop giving me so much credit and take some responsibility for these guys. Satan. 32. He buys souls, cheap. 33. He is the Antichrist, and that is a hill I will die on. 34. This is the answer. I don't believe in religion or devil's angels, or anything like that, but there is something that disturbs me anytime I see him. 35. Jared Leto. 36. Honestly, Leto is the type of guy that would totally brag about it if he did. I think he wants to sell his soul, but he's still shopping around for the right buyer. 37. I think there's just no takers. I imagine some demons sitting around discussing the souls they culled for the week and comparing. Would you want to be the demon who had to say they got Jared Leto? 38. Kris Jenner. The devil works hard, and kudos, but that bitch works harder. 39. To be fair, I don't think Kris Jenner sold her soul, she just sold the souls of all of her family and their descendants in perpetuity. 40. Like some House of Usher shit. I feel this as well. 41. The House of Jenner would be a great spooky skit. 42. Rumors that she encouraged her daughter making a sex tape with Ray J to kickstart her fame. So yeah, wouldn't put selling her soul to the devil past her. 43. Not a rumor. The email proof was released last year. 44. Ray J released a whole video with receipts saying Kris and Kim pushed him to sign release papers. 45. Diddy. 46. I know I could Google it, but I really want a simple answer from a real person. What did he do? 47. It's not really a simple answer, unfortunately. I'll try and make a concise list. To be clear, Diddy has never been convicted of a serious felony, but there are a ton of allegations against him. He has been accused, in court, of being physically abusive by at least 3 of his exes. Cassie Ventura recently accused him of sexually assaulting her as well as forcing her to have sex with male prostitutes while he watched. He settled these claims out of court. There are also allegations of physical abuse against some other rappers. He attacked Steve Stout, a NYC music executive, with a champagne bottle in Stout's office. Stout's arm and jaw were broken. Diddy was sentenced to a one-day anger management class. Was involved in a shooting at Club New York. The details continue to be murky, but a witness claims she saw Diddy shooting his gun. 3 people were wounded. He threatened to blow up Kid Cute's car. Shortly thereafter, Kid Cute's car blew up. Draw your own conclusions. And, perhaps most significantly, it is a common theory that Diddy had Tupac killed. Whether or not he directly ordered the hit, it's undeniable he was instrumental in escalating the East Coast versus West Coast feud that resulted in the death of both Pac and Biggie. There's more shady and shitty stuff that he's done. This is just a highlight reel. 48. I still think he had Biggie killed to further his career, and that's a hill I'll die on. 49. Same. I actually don't believe he is involved in Tupac's death, but he definitely is in Biggie's. 50. What didn't Diddy do? 51. Did he dumb? Did he do? 52. Joel Osteen. 53. If demon possession ends up being real, we absolutely have to check him and Kenneth Copeland first. 54. Copeland first, Osteen second. Copeland makes even Osteen look normal. In fact, Copeland may just be the devil, honestly. 55. My grandma, who passed away in 2015, used to say his toupee was to hide his horns. 56. Dude looks like the demon-possessed love child of Tim Allen and Martin Short. 57. James Corden. How is someone so notoriously unlikable and unfunny in fucking everything? I've never met anyone who has anything nice to say about him if they know who he is. Yet he keeps landing movie gig after TV show after special or hosting job or you name it. He either made a deal with the devil or he must have the world's best PR team and agent. 58. Him hosting the Friends reunion pissed me off the most. Could they find literally no one else? 59. Could they be more stupid? 60. They should have had Conan do it. He already did an interview with the cast back when the show was on. 61. Conan would have been a spectacular choice. 62. Is he the type that if you ask the public if they have ever served him in a restaurant that he was a complete dick? 63. There's also that clip where Kimmel asks him to name a single cameraman on his crew and he just can't at all. Lol, class 1 asshole. 64. Came to say the same. How does he still get work? Take away all the stories people say about him. He is still a garbage actor and host. There is absolutely nothing likable or funny about him. 65. When I first encountered him, it was as a kid in Teachers, a pretty funny UK comedy that wasn't huge and wasn't groundbreaking. He was pretty funny. Then on stage in London for the History Boys, and again he was really good. A likable idiot who, as a fat joker, I related to. I don't much care for Gavin and Stacey, but it's hugely popular in the UK and his character is also pretty funny and likable. This is how he got big. The problem is that now, with it being apparent this is the only role he can play, launching a terrible sketch show with Gavin from Gavin and Stacey and getting found out to be a talentless twat, being rude to Sir Patrick Stewart at an awards ceremony and spiraling into twattery stained all former performances of his. Nobody is going to go back having never seen those films and shows I mentioned and be able to scrub the cunt from their eyes. He's doomed himself and poisoned his somewhat promising early career by being a wonk. 66. Kardashians. 67. This. Kris sold out every kid she had. 68. The devil works hard but Kris Jenner works harder, Michael Scott. 69. Surprised I had to scroll this far down. They definitely made a deal with the devil. 70. The devil works hard but Kris Jenner works harder. I saw that on a meme years ago and it seems to sum up that whole dynasty. 71. Specifically their dad hiding evidence in the OJ case. 72. I mean, Robert took a lot of money to, successfully, defend a rich murderer. Then Kim and her mom sold Kim's sex tape. 73. Robert Kardashian was already wealthy when OJ went to trial and defended him because they were close personal friends. 74. Pete Davidson. I believe he found a genie and his 3 wishes were to not die of an overdose, to become a famous comedian, and to sleep with many beautiful and famous women. 75. I love the theory that he's Beetlejuice IRL. 76. Pete, Iljuice. 77. I knew a guy just like him back in my 20s. So funny, very likable, and very fucked up. He died of an overdose at age 28. His funeral was insanely crowded. I have no idea how Pete Davidson has so far managed to avoid the same fate as my friend. 78. From what he said, he's had a lot of therapy. It's been a while since I've read the interview, but that's what I remember. 79. He's open about being in intense therapy and putting his mental health first. I commend him for that and have major respect. His mental health isn't his fault, but he takes responsibility. 80. I'm not a fan of his comedy, but from the little I have seen or heard about Pete, is that he seems pretty self-aware. He feels like he's just a regular guy with regular problems, but he somehow has the fame and money of people way more talented than he feels. I'm not gonna knock him for living a successful man's life when it was offered to him. Anyone would. And I'm sure he has worked harder to get there than most. Normal. What is people have ever chased such dreams? 81. He figured out how to market. I'm fucked up. I'm getting help for it. But I'm a work in progress. And I'll always be honest about it, which is kind of refreshing. If you're struggling with mental health, trauma and substance abuse yourself and need someone to relate to. All of his movies and his Peacock show are autobiographical with some exaggerations. But they all make the point that the reason he isn't dead or passed out in an alley is because he's created a big safety net of people around him. He has the money to fix his fuck UPS, and that he's willing to comply when people around him tell him he's circling the drain and needs to check into treatment or be honest about taking his meds. It's easy to hate him when you hear about the shitty things he's done or continues to do when he's messing with his meds, fucking up with drugs. But it's hard not to feel for him when he's being that honest about it, because he does remind you of your little cousin or your old friend from high school or whoever, who went through the same thing and didn't make it. 82. I'm just Pete and I'm on drugs. I'm mentally ill and I like jugs. 83. Pretty sure one of his wishes was for a big duck. 84. Hey man, big ducks can get pretty expensive. You seen restaurant prices these days? 85. Wait till you see the bill. 86. Will Smith. The guy seems like he's always acting, even if it's just an interview or whatever. I think he's forgotten how to turn it off. 87. That's because he doesn't have a lot of range. All his characters are just riffs of Will Smith. Will Smith is Will Smith, in Will Smith, the Will Smithening II. 88. Do I need to see the Will Smithening 1 before I watch the Will Smithening 2? 89. Work in film, and I had the chance to shoot and work directly with him once for social content. This was a year before the slap. I remember telling my friends how empty his eyes looked, like he wasn't even there. It was weird. I get that his life is insane and hectic and is probably tired, but I felt bad for him as he didn't look happy and present. 90. Maybe he's still in pursuit of happiness. 91. I get that his life is insane and hectic and is probably tired, but I felt bad for him as he didn't look happy and present. Which is something I just doesn't get. Like, when you're Will Smith, you've already made it. No need to go even harder. Guy probably could just reinvest his money into one big retirement fund and just do chilled indie movies if he wanted to. I mean, what's going to happen? His wife losing interest in him because of his lost status. Come on, that ship has sailed. 92. Travis Scott. 93. Something so eerily empty about that man. Plenty of musicians have done horrible stuff. Plenty have aggressive personas, but there would still be a certain charm to them, or at least a warmth that they could believably simulate. That guy, though. 94. I actually feel like we watched him do it. That Astroworld footage was just downright creepy. 95. He might not have killed all those people with his bare hands, but his actions led to them dying. That makes him responsible. 96. This is the hill I will die on. I swear he saw what happened at Rolling Loud Bay Area 2018 when they shut down the other stage for him and just wanted to see how much of a disaster he could cause after that. Anyone who was there could tell you someone could have easily died that night alone, and the fact there wasn't a disaster until years later is a miracle. 97. Ellen DeGeneres. 98. Kevin Spacey. But he violated the terms, so his secrets came out. 99. Every televangelist. 100. Nicole Paganini. 101. That's the legend. He was a brilliant musician, though. 102. Chris Brown. He beats up women but still very popular and continues to win award. 103. Yeah. Beating up or raping women doesn't harm the career of NFL players either, unless there's a video of it. 104. A verbal argument ensued and Chris Brown pulled the vehicle over on an unknown street, reached over Robin F. with his right hand, opened the car door and attempted to force her out. Brown was unable to force Robin F. out of the vehicle because she was wearing a seat belt. When he could not force her to exit, he took his right hand and shoved her head against the passenger window of the vehicle, causing an approximate 1-inch raised circular contusion. Robin F. turned to face Brown and he punched her in the left eye with his right hand. He then drove away in the vehicle and continued to punch her in the face with his right hand while steering the vehicle with his left hand. The assault caused Robin F. S mouth to fill with blood and blood to splatter all over her clothing and the interior of the vehicle. Brown looked at Robin F. and stated, "I'm going to beat the shit out of you when we get home. You wait and see." The detective said Robin F. then used her cell phone to call her personal assistant Jennifer Rosales, who did not answer. Robin F. pretended to talk to her and stated, "I'm on my way home. Make sure the police are there when I get there." After Robin F. faked the call, Brown looked at her and stated, "You just did the stupidest thing ever. Now I'm really going to kill you." Brown resumed punching Robin F. and she interlocked her fingers behind her head and brought her elbows forward to protect her face. She then bent over at the waist, placing her elbows and face near her lap in an attempt to protect her face and head from the barrage of punches being levied upon her by Brown. Brown continued to punch Robin F. on her left arm and hand, causing her to suffer a contusion on her left triceps, that was approximately 2 inches in diameter, and numerous contusions on her left hand. Robin F. then attempted to send a text message to her other personal assistant, Melissa Ford. Brown snatched the cellular telephone out of her hand and threw it out of the window onto an unknown street. Brown continued driving and Robin F. observed his cellular telephone sitting in his lap. She picked up the cellular telephone with her left hand, and before she could make a call he placed her in a headlock with his right hand and continued to drive the vehicle with his left hand. Brown pulled Robin F. close to him and bit her on her left ear. She was able to feel the vehicle swerving from right to left as Brown sped away. He stopped the vehicle in front of 333 North June Street and Robin F. turned off the car, removed the key from the ignition and sat on it. Brown did not know what she did with the key and began punching her in the face and arms. He then placed her in a headlock, positioning the front of her throat between his bicep and forearm. Brown began applying pressure to Robin F. S left and right carotid arteries, causing her to be unable to breathe, and she began to lose consciousness. She reached up with her left hand and began attempting to gouge his eyes in an attempt to free herself. Brown bit her left ring and middle fingers and then released her. While Brown continued to punch her, She turned around and placed her back against the passenger door. She brought her knees to her chest, placed her feet against Brown's body and began pushing him away. Brown continued to punch her on the legs and feet, causing several contusions. Robin F. began screaming for help and Brown exited the vehicle and walked away. A resident in the neighborhood heard Robin F.'s plea for help and called 911, causing a police response. An investigation was conducted and Robin F. was issued a domestic violence emergency protective order. 105. Gwyneth Paltrow. 106. Ugh. She fits in the category of, I wish I knew less about her. 107. Oprah Winfrey. 108. I know she has a lot of followers but I never liked her delivery style. 109. She's also platformed a bunch of shitty people. 110. Dr. Oz, Dr. Phil. So many con artists and grifters. I think she has a terrible sense of who to trust. 111. I think she knows exactly what she's doing. She knows they aren't any more trustworthy than she is, and she isn't. 112. She's cultivated this philanthropic and altruistic public image, yet there's a smug, holier-than-thou air about her when the mask slips. 113. Beyonce and Jay-Z. It's just weird to me how untouchable they are by society. 114. It's because they don't say shit about their personal lives unless it can be spun into an album. The NDAs they have must be flawless. 115. Apparently the NDAs they require people sign are in effect for generations, so information can't be released until decades after Bey, Jay-Z and their offspring are dead. 116. This is wild but I don't think it's legal. You can't bind subsequent generations to a contract you made. 117. J-Lo. 118. Thank you. Took way too long to find this one. Can't really sing. Can't really act. Looks younger today than she did in the 90s wearing that Versace dress. Survived Puff Daddy. Reconnected with Ben. Has a skincare line. Has tons of endorsement deals. Is still incredibly relevant. Boggles the mind. And yet I'm still a fan. She for sure signed in blood at the crossroads. 119. And yet I'm still a fan. That last sentence blew my mind. 120. James Corden, Ellen DeGeneres, Jimmy Fallon. 121. Ick, Fallon is awful to watch but he doesn't scream soulless like the other two do. Just falling upwards. 122. Hugh Hefner. All the horrible things that man did and how many women he took advantage of, and he never faced consequences. Nobody even spoke out until after he died. 123. I think that one named Holly said something about him drugging the girls to have sex with him. 124. Holly wrote down the rabbit hole and mentions he would pay the girls who lived there an amazing weekly wage but they couldn't save a penny, ever. They had to spend it on clothes, shoes, upkeep of appearance like hair and manicures and shit. She said he would literally pit them against each other and compliment one girl for one thing and then if another girl did it he'd scream at them and put them down for it. It all sounds really fucked up. 125. Yeah, muscle relaxers or something. Like you bring a girl home, she's an aspiring model, already signed to do a shoot, is in use house and here, take this to help you relax. 126. From what was revealed in the Playboy docuseries, I'm not sure he had a soul to begin with. 127. Bobby Flay. Ain't nothing human behind those eyes. 128. I always found the show where he beats people at their own favorite dish in their own backyard very bizarre. 129. He beat the worst boss I ever had on that show so I give him respect for that, one thing only. 130. He sold his soul to the Japanese devil when he stood on the counter and cutting board. The disrespect. 131. Something has always been so off about that man. 132. 100%. If it came out he was a serial killer gourmet cannibal chef and cooked his victims into Michelin star meals at home, it wouldn't surprise me. 135. Also he has giant long nipples. I met him once when I worked at his restaurant BBP. 136. It would have cost you $0 to not put that image in our heads. 137. WTF? Does he cook with his tits out? 138. Ryan Seacrest. What is he good at again? Yet every year, he's still there. 139. He fills a weird need? There are times, especially with live TV but interviewing in general, that you need someone to be human enough for it to feel real, pleasant enough you aren't turned off by them, but also forgettable enough that they don't overshadow or in any way are memorable enough to take away from the thing we should actually be focusing on. He is really, really good at that. 140. You heard it here first, folk. Ryan Seacrest is the most ordinary American. The pinnacle of the bell curve. The ideal NPC. 141. I mean, sort of. He could sell his AI video assistant self better than Kendall Jenner IMO. Why anyone would have a Kendall Jenner AI assistant because she doesn't do shit and people can't remember her for shit besides being in a famous family, but Ryan Seacrest does have a blank slate, professional, entertainment. Cultivated personality talent cemented in people's brains from years of American Idol. 142. The only correct answer here is David Blaine. That dude even scared the liver out of Harrison Ford. 143. Oh, David Blaine is one of the devils people sell their souls to. 144. Jared Leto. There is nothing behind those eyes. 145. Kissinger. Rot in hell. 146. Most of them, honestly. 147. Tom Brady. How else can one guy consistently go to Super Bowl after Super Bowl and win with overwhelming leads every time? Whenever anyone asks me who's going to win, I just answer with, whichever team has Tom Brady on it this time. 148. Ariana Grande. 149. Asked for the voice to impersonate any singer and traded it for only being able to date taken men who get progressively more taken and less attractive. 150. Robert Johnson. There is literally an urban legend that he sold his soul for his talent on guitar.